The morning sky blushed in a golden hue as the sun rose over the vast plains of Kurukshetra. Dust swirled in the air as chariots rumbled, and the earth itself seemed to brace for what was to come. But amidst all the chaos, one chariot stood apart, a radiant vehicle, unlike any other on the battlefield. Drawn by 4 gleaming white horses that shimmered like stars in daylight, the divine chariot bore 2 figures, Madhava, the divine Lord Krishna, and Partha, the mighty warrior Arjuna. As they arrived on the field, an eerie stillness swept through the air. Warriors paused, eyes turned. The chariot itself seemed alive, gifted by Agni, the god of fire, forged in flames and empowered by cosmic energy. The horses, gifted by Chitraratha, the king of the Gandharvas, moved with grace that defied mortal bounds. They were not just animals, they were symbols, each reflecting the wisdom of the 4 Vedas, propelling the chariot of Dharma forward. "Krishna," Arjuna whispered, his voice barely audible over the rising wind. "This is not just another war." "No, it is not," Krishna replied calmly, his eyes scanning the horizon. "It is the war where Dharma must stand firm. You are its bow, Arjuna, and I am the will behind it." Arjuna looked down at his hands, resting on the great Gandiva, the bow given to him by Agni himself. "Then, why does my heart tremble?" Krishna smiled. "Because you are human, and that, Arjuna, is your strength." Suddenly, across the field, a powerful blare cut through the morning air, the sound of Bhishma's conch shell. It roared like a storm, shaking the bones of every listener. The Kaurava side erupted in movement. War drums, kettle drums, cow horns, and trumpets followed, filling the air with noise and fury. Arjuna's chest tightened. "They are ready," he said, "ready to end us." Krishna held up a hand. "Then let us speak." He raised his own conch, Panchajanya, white as moonlight and carved with celestial markings, and blew into it. A sound burst forth, not just powerful but divine, cutting through the noise of the enemy like lightning through storm clouds. Arjuna followed, lifting his mighty conch, Devadatta, radiant as the sun, and joined the divine music. The sound of their conchs was not just loud, it was alive. It carried the breath of Dharma, of courage, of truth. The warriors of the Pandava army, many of whom had begun to doubt their odds, now stood taller, their eyes lit with hope. Horses neighed, elephants trumpeted. Even the wind seemed to shift direction, bowing before the call of Nara and Narayana, the Jivatma and Paramatma, now visible to the world. The conch calls faded, but Arjuna's heart did not settle. As his eyes moved over the sea of warriors, he saw faces he had once laughed with, uncles, cousins, teachers, and friends. They stood now with swords raised, eyes steeled. Krishna remained quiet, watching him. He knew what was coming. "How did we get here?" Arjuna asked, his voice soft but heavy. "I see my grandfather, my guru, my cousins. Are we truly meant to kill them, Krishna? Even in the name of Dharma?" Krishna did not answer immediately. He waited for the silence between them to ripen. Arjuna's fingers trembled over Gandiva. "My hands weaken. My mouth is dry. I do not know if I can fight." Krishna placed a hand on Arjuna's shoulder. "Then do not fight for yourself." Arjuna's eyes widened. "Then for whom?" "For Dharma," Krishna replied. "For justice, for the generations to come. Your sorrow is noble, Arjuna, but it cannot stop what must be done." A tear slid down Arjuna's cheek. "But they are my own blood." "Yes," Krishna said, "and they have chosen adharma. And when blood chooses wrong, it becomes a burden, not a bond." As Arjuna battled his inner storm, the chariot seemed to shimmer brighter, as if absorbing the tension and turning it into divine energy. The white horses stood still, alert, patient, their breath creating tiny clouds in the morning air. Krishna looked toward the enemy. "You see them standing there, unified in noise and armor, but they lack what we have." "What?" Arjuna asked, staring at the massive army ahead. "Me," Krishna said simply. Arjuna looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment he saw not just a charioteer, but the essence of the cosmos, the keeper of Dharma, the supreme being in human form. The battlefield vanished in his vision, and he saw eternity stretch out the destruction of evil, the rise of good, the wheel of karma turning over and over again. He gasped, his body jolted. "What was that?" he asked. Krishna smiled. "A reminder that you are not alone." The horses neighed and stomped, sensing the shift in Arjuna. He tightened his grip on Gandiva. His eyes no longer darted with doubt, they burned with resolve. The winds changed again. This time, it was not fear in the air, it was fire. The Pandava army stirred. Their leader had returned not just in body, but in spirit. Drishtadyumna raised his sword, Bhima cracked his knuckles with anticipation, and Nakula and Sahadeva nodded to each other. Arjuna drew an arrow from his quiver and placed it gently on the string of Gandiva. "I will fight," he whispered, "but only for Dharma." Krishna nodded, "And I shall guide." Their chariot moved forward slowly, like the sun rising across the land. Every eye followed it. On the Kaurava side, fear rippled like a quiet wind through the ranks. The sound of Krishna's and Arjuna's conch still echoed in their ears, not just as a sound, but as a promise that righteousness had risen. As the chariot came to a halt again, Arjuna looked up at the sky. Clouds gathered, but not of gloom. They seemed to swirl in reverence, making way for the divine purpose set in motion. Bhishma, from the other end, watched. He had known this moment would come. "Krishna has taken the reins," he muttered. "Then victory will be theirs." Krishna turned slightly, a playful smile on his lip. "Let them know, Arjuna, that this is not just a war, it is a cleansing." Arjuna raised his bow. The earth held its breath. The first arrow had not yet flown, but the war had already begun in the mind, in the heart, in the silence between every heartbeat. And in that moment, with the echo of celestial conchs still vibrating through the heavens, the fate of the world tilted toward Dharma.